Welcome to Voice of Africa, your trusted space for real African stories, told with dignity and truth. It's such a joy to be back with you today, and I'm truly excited to bring you a significant update, a moment that slipped under the radar for many, but which we believe deserves celebration and recognition. A few days ago, something remarkable happened in Burkina Faso, and as always, we are here to give you the full story, from an African point of view. So sit back and take this journey with us as we unpack a very important diplomatic meeting that took place on May 27, 2025, between Burkina Faso and the United States of America. What unfolded during this meeting could mark a turning point in how the two nations, and potentially the whole of Africa and the West, engage in the future. Before we continue, let's make something clear. Voice of Africa is a platform for peace. We do not promote division. We do not entertain hate. We are here to share facts, truth, and stories that inspire. No matter the complexity of the topic, we approach it with calm, honesty, and a firm belief in respectful dialogue between peoples and nations. Peace is not just a word. It is our guiding principle. Now, let's get into what happened in Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso, during this diplomatic encounter that might just shift long-standing perceptions and policies. On May 27, 2025, the U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for West Africa, Mr. Will Stevens, arrived in Ouagadougou. This visit wasn't a routine formality. It was a carefully planned diplomatic outreach initiated directly by U.S. President Donald Trump. For a country like Burkina Faso, often overlooked or approached with preconceived narratives, this visit carried profound meaning. The envoy's arrival sent a clear message. The United States is ready to rebuild and strengthen ties with Burkina Faso on new, better terms grounded in mutual respect and national sovereignty. Later that day, Will Stevens was officially received by Karamoko Jean-Marie Traoré, Burkina Faso's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Cooperation, and Burkina Abroad. The discussion that followed between the two men was thoughtful, constructive, and, as reported, surprisingly candid. It was an exchange rooted in clarity and vision, not superficial pleasantries. The message from the American envoy was simple yet powerful. I come today with a message from President Donald Trump, which is to work together to build a pragmatic relationship based on mutual respect and the respect for each country's sovereignty. We can collaborate mutually, work together to face challenges, and improve our relations. This shift in tone from Washington did not go unnoticed. It echoed a long-standing demand from African nations, particularly those like Burkina Faso, who are actively redefining their paths forward. Gone are the days of submissive relationships. What Africa wants now, more than ever, is equality, sovereignty, and dignity in its international engagements. Minister Traoré, always measured but firm, responded with both appreciation and conviction. He welcomed the gesture, recognizing the significance of the U.S. sending a high-level official to listen on the ground, not lecture from afar. He praised President Trump's understanding that diplomacy begins with direct engagement and not through filtered reports or detached assumptions. But more than just accepting the olive branch, Traoré laid down the framework for how Burkina Faso intends to conduct its foreign policy going forward. As Burkinabe, as Sahelians, and as Africans, we want mutual respect, the respect of our sovereignty. Africa is a continent like any other, and Africans are human beings like any other. We want a change in perspective and narrative, a better understanding, the end of frustrating rhetoric, and the beginning of relations built on equality. These words hit the heart of Africa's collective aspiration. It was a statement that transcended the room where it was spoken and resonated far beyond the borders of Burkina Faso. This was Africa speaking, not with anger, not with resentment, but with a confident voice demanding fairness. The meeting wasn't just about speeches, it was about solutions. Minister Traoré and Mr. Stevens explored multiple avenues of cooperation, including trade, education, infrastructure, and perhaps most critically, security. As many of you already know, Burkina Faso is still at the forefront of the battle against terrorism in the Sahel. It is a daily struggle that requires both internal strength and international solidarity. However, during the discussions, Traoré also addressed a pressing challenge, one that has long frustrated African security efforts: the external restrictions placed on military equipment. He lamented how certain countries, including the United States, have often blocked the sale of defense tools and arms to African nations under siege, citing legal or ethical concerns that do not reflect the urgent realities on the ground. We regret that in this context, some countries, including the United States, on the basis of principles and ignoring the realities on the ground, are preventing countries suffering from terrorism from acquiring military material and war equipment, Traoré stated. This candidness was not a confrontation. It was an invitation to reconsider outdated policies in light of the real suffering and the actual battlefield conditions in countries like Burkina Faso. To his credit, Will Stevens responded with maturity and openness. He acknowledged the concern and promised to take it seriously, not just as a diplomatic formality, but as an urgent matter requiring attention. He committed to personally advocating within the U.S. government to review and unblock the mechanisms preventing Burkina Faso from acquiring the necessary tools to protect its citizens. He pledged to push for more meaningful progress in counterterrorism cooperation, especially concerning the financing of extremist networks in West Africa. This alone could mark a paradigm shift in how the U.S. supports its African partners. It signaled that America might finally be ready to move away from a top-down approach and instead start listening, learning, and acting based on local realities. Let's pause right here for a moment to say a heartfelt thank you to all our members, subscribers, and supporters. Your unwavering belief in African-owned narratives allows us to tell these stories with truth and clarity. If you're watching and find value in what we do, please consider hitting the Super Thanks button below. Your support goes a long way in keeping Voice of Africa strong, independent, and fearless. Now let's continue. There was another sensitive topic brought up during this meeting: the recent controversial remarks made by U.S. General Michael Langley about Burkina Faso.
Know that both, whether it's their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime.
His comments had triggered a wave of backlash across Africa and beyond. When questioned about the issue, Will Stevens did not shy away. Instead of deflecting blame or justifying the statement, he brought a message of peace and reconciliation. "I am here with a positive message to restore mutual trust and to foster a new dynamic of cooperation between Ouagadougou and Washington." That answer may not erase the sting of the general's words, but it set a constructive tone. It told the people of Burkina Faso that the United States is beginning to understand the importance of tone, humility, and respect in diplomacy. In the days following the meeting, reactions across Burkina Faso and the wider West African region have been largely optimistic. Observers have noted the symbolic weight of the visit and the sincerity expressed during the discussions. While skepticism remains in some quarters, as is always healthy in politics, there is hope that this could be the beginning of a new chapter. So why does this matter? Because Burkina Faso is rising. Not just in its fight against terrorism, but in its assertion of independence, dignity, and a new kind of African leadership. Under President Captain Ibrahim Traoré, and with diplomatic voices like Minister Traoré, the country is charting a bold new course, one that rejects outdated models of dependency and embraces strategic partnerships on equal footing. And if the United States is ready to adapt its approach, to treat Burkina Faso as a partner and not a subject, then we may indeed be witnessing a major diplomatic breakthrough. At Voice of Africa, we will continue to follow this story closely. We believe in giving our audience not just the headlines, but the heart behind them. We believe in celebrating when progress is made and holding power accountable when it falls short. But today, we choose to applaud. We applaud this effort from President Trump's administration to send an envoy willing to listen. We applaud the strength and dignity of Minister Karamoko Jean-Marie Traoré, who spoke not just for Burkina Faso but for Africa. And we applaud the possibility, yes, the possibility, that this moment marks the beginning of a better, fairer relationship between Africa and one of the world's most powerful nations. Thank you once again for tuning in to Voice of Africa. Let's keep the conversation going. Please like, comment, share this video, and if you believe in our mission, consider showing your support through the Super Thanks option below. Until next time, stay strong, stay informed, and stay proud of Africa. This is Voice of Africa, and we are only just beginning.